channel. So today we are out foraging for some rose hips, and if you're not familiar with those, they're awesome in your medicinal apothecary. They are super high in vitamin C. They say about 60 times that of citrus fruit. So really great to have on hand for those times you need a boost in your immune system. You can do a lot with them. A lot of people make syrups with them. You can make jams or jellies and marmalades with them, or you can just use them in your tea. We already have rose petals at home in our apothecary, and that's kind of a spring summer harvest that you're going to do to get those. But the rose hips are a winter harvest, and they're pretty easy to spot, and there's no deadly lookalikes, so you can have confidence when you go out. If you know how to identify a rose, you're in good shape. So we're actually harvesting off of our property like we do all of our herbs, or the majority of them. A few are store-bought so far, but really easy to spot out here, especially if you're waiting until your first frost and you have a lot less leaves in the area. It's easy to spot those red rose hips on those bushes. So we are harvesting them off of the multiflora rose that is growing wild all over back here. They like a foresty type of area, but they like lots of sunshine too. So you'll find them kind of along the edge of woodlands, the edge of fields and stuff like that. So we have a bunch of very mature bushes out here, so the challenge is just going to be getting in there without getting poked too much. We do have a lot of burdock in this area. This is like our pond area, so there's a lot of burdock out here. And there is a ton of wild strawberries and blackberry and stuff. So we got brambles to pick through, and then the rose, of course, itself is super pokey. So we're gonna do our best to not get beat up too bad doing this. And it's also obviously beautiful fall. It's about 51 degrees, I think, right now. And the trees are looking absolutely gorgeous. So we will definitely be just walking around looking at the trees and the foliage and stuff as well. Right now on our property, we do have a lot of autumn olive in certain spots as well, and those have these red berries on them right now as well. But these are edible. These won't hurt you, and so even if you made that mistake with something like this, it wouldn't hurt you. But it's pretty easy to tell that this just isn't a rose bush, right? There's no pokies on them, and the leaves are totally different shape. But they do look gorgeous, don't they? So pretty in the bush like that. There's tons of red on there. It's so pretty. But right over here is our multiflora rose. One of them, it's a huge bush. It's got to be 10 foot tall or more. But this isn't a very good spot. The hips are kind of slim through here, so we're gonna walk around to the other side, but we have tons. We've been waiting for a frost because there's just so many. I knew that the birds weren't gonna take them all from us, so we've been waiting patiently. So we've been trying to harvest a lot this fall. We do a lot of foraging in the spring, late spring, and kind of early summertime period. We do a lot of our foraging around our property. But this fall I got the foraging bug again, and I wanted to go out and try to get some last minute herbs for the apothecary. I got some mullein off of some small first year plants. I got some mullein leaf. My husband's been having a lot of lung sickness of some kind. We're not sure exactly what, but he's been coughing and stuff a lot. So I went ahead and got a bunch of mullein so that he can have that. And let's see, what else did we get? We also got some black walnuts too, and I'm making some infused oil with that, and I'm doing a tincture with the black walnut hulls. So, and I can't remember what else. But we've done a few things this fall, just trying to get some last minute stuff. So rose hips are going to grow where your flowers were. So you can harvest rose hips off of wild roses or your ornamental roses in your yard, but you can't deadhead the flowers because where that flower was is where the rose hip is going to develop, and it's kind of a berry looking red ball, but they vary in size. Ours are going to be really tiny because we have this wild rose, so it has a really tiny hip, and some of your ornamental roses are going to have a much bigger. They might even be, you know, this big, but we're having really tiny ones, and that's cool. You're not going to want to eat these out in the field. You can kind of nibble the edge off, but you're not going to want to eat that center seed part. So I do occasionally taste them, and right now they taste really well. If you wait until after your first frost, they do get more sweet and better tasting, kind of like your grapes. If you let your grapes wait out until the first frost. There's a ton of wild grapes up here too. It's really pretty in the tree with the white bark and the pretty yellow leaves. It's really pretty out here. But we're gonna get to picking, and I'll kind of show you what these look like up close. All right, so we'll try to show you guys an example so you can clearly see that we've got a rose bush here, very typical look that you would see with the spikes. And these red berries are the rose hips. And you can see that they're really tiny on this plant, but we are going to get them all the same. Big bunches like this, we'll probably just pull the whole part off and sort them out at home. We don't really want these ucky ones, but you can see that seed in the middle. You don't want to eat that. But these are so small that we are going to just keep the seed in. When we harvest them, we're going to dry these, and we are going to leave the seeds in there because they're so small, but when we make tea and stuff like that with it, it won't matter at all. If you do have large hips and you're going to want to do something with them other than tea, you might want to go ahead and de-seed those when you get them back to the house. But we're just going to leave them because they are so tiny. bunch of horsetail. They're kind of all over the place. In here you can see them overgrown toward the end of their life for the year. We did not harvest any of this year, but we'll definitely be getting some next year. It's pretty much all over the place back here in the pond area. Also, all the goldenrod. We have tons of goldenrod, and we already had a ton of goldenrod, so we've been using that. I've been using that in tea for my husband's lung issue as well, and great for allergies and stuff too. Don't confuse it with like ragweed. There's no allergies for goldenrod, so super great plant. And man, when you dry it and open up that jar, it smells so pretty, and it really tastes good in tea, and it's really fragrant, so I like it. Berries in this autumn olive bush. It is so thick, and these are actually really big berries. They are so sweet right now. We're trying not to overdose on these. They're so good. So I'm gonna bring a few back for my husband and son to try. All right, so we got pockets full of autumn olive berries off of that bush. That bush has huge berries, and then the one right over here has tiny berries. And these ones are sweeter and way delicious. So we have our pockets filled up so we can share some with the boys. But just a side note, autumn olive is considered an invasive plant here, probably everywhere, but in northern Michigan, it's kind of a nasty plant, and it's common for it to be sprayed. So definitely don't be getting autumn olive near like a power line or the roadways or anything like that, because it is considered invasive, and so they do send spray crews out to spray those a lot. So just beware of that. Man, that is thick with berries. That is crazy. These ones are a little smaller. Yeah, very bitter. And bitter. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bitter. Not the other ones we got are so sweet. Those ones, maybe because they're in the shade more, they need more time. But that is thick. All right, we're kind of making a final lap around the edge of the property to just check how things are going and see what's around right now. I think we may have more autumn olive berries in our pockets than we have rose hips in our buckets, but we went a little overboard, but they're super good. So it sure is beautiful out, and the sun finally came out. We've had a rain for a couple days, so the sun is awesome. What a beautiful day. We did a lap around the property, and we are gonna go in the house and sort these rose hips, get all the yucky ones off, or all the stems and stuff, and we're gonna stick those in the dehydrator and dry them. You guys can see the garden is empty now. Basically, we just got some marigolds in there, so looking pretty. I have not put it to bed yet, though. I have some raking to do, and I was gonna put some compost and stuff on there. And we did add 4 little raised beds there in the back. We've got the one you can see is asparagus, and then the other ones are strawberries. Alright, we made it back, and we got 2 partial buckets here full. So we're gonna now pull these off of the stems and put these into a bowl, and then we're gonna put those in the dehydrator. So, but see how tiny these are? So we're not gonna try to get the seeds out of these or anything because they're just so small, but you might wanna de-seed yours if you have a bigger variety. Yes, my hands are sticky from pulling those off the branches. We finally got done getting all the stems and everything off of our rose hips, and we gave them a quick rinse in some cool water, and we're gonna call that good. So I got the dehydrator out, and I'm just gonna lay these out, spread them out on our trays, and then we're gonna let them go in the dehydrator probably about 105, 110 degrees until they're all dry. And then we will go ahead and put them in some jars, and they will be ready to go, ready to use for some tea or some syrups or whatever we want. So like I said, that's what we are going to be using them for teas and stuff mostly, but I might make some syrups. And you don't really need to remove the seeds for that. But if you wanted to, if you wanted to make jelly too, you don't really have to de-seed them. But if you want to use the pulp for anything, then you're definitely going to want to get your seeds out, which I wouldn't really recommend doing for this kind of wild rose that has such tiny hips. So, but if you have some nice big hips that you could remove the seeds easily, you could do other things with it. All right, but the seeds aren't toxic or anything if you were to ingest any, but they have little hairs on them that they say can irritate or itch the throat and the mouth, and so it's kind of uncomfortable, which is why we try to avoid that. All right, that'll be good for that one. I'll just get another tray. I'm just using, this is an Excalibur 9 tray dehydrator, but any dehydrator of course will do the trick. You can also, you know, if you have other methods to dehydrate them, you can do it in the oven too, if you wanted to, if you don't have a dehydrator. All right, we filled up 3 of our sheets in there. Alright you guys, so we have the rose hips in the dehydrator about 105, 110 degrees, and we're just going to let that go for a few hours and we'll check on them and we'll show you guys what they look like when they're all done at the end. So I hope that you guys enjoyed coming along today and foraging and seeing the beautiful fall colors out there. I am glad you guys stopped by, and we'll see you guys in the next video.